Welcome back to the Red Leaf Exotics channel, everyone. I am Dominic Ravine, and today I wanted to talk to you about something that's not talked about that often, and that is the pricing of Nepenthes. So let's face it, we've all been on eBay or even some websites, and you see Nepenthes for thousands of dollars, and you're just wondering why, especially if you're a newcomer. You also see plants on websites and eBay that are just $5. Why? What are you paying for, and why is it so affordable? Like most tropical plants, Nepenthes have a wide price range. You get into the tissue culture stuff or the seed grown, 1 inch to a 2-foot specimen with huge pitchers. There are so many factors that come into play when pricing a Nepenthes plant. So to make this video easier to understand, I broke it down into 5 categories. That is the size and quality, the availability, tissue culture versus seed grown, the parents that are used, and the vendor that's providing or producing these plants. The first thing I'm going to be talking about is the vendors, or where you're getting your Nepenthes from. Are you getting them from a wholesale nursery down in Florida that has thousands of Nepenthes and plugs fresh out of TC for $1.75? Or are you going to get them from a nursery that specializes in the latest hybrids that are seed grown, limited quantities? That is greatly going to affect the price of what you're paying for your Nepenthes. Every nursery is different. Some are bigger, some are smaller, some have different operating costs. That is all going to go into the pricing. So every vendor is entitled to and is going to have different pricing for their Nepenthes plants. The next topic that greatly affects the pricing of Nepenthes is tissue culture versus seed grown. To make it super simple to understand, tissue culture is when you take cells from a plant, you put them in sterilized conditions, usually in a lab, and those couple little cells that you get multiply and multiply and multiply. Then you multiply them, and all those cells eventually turn into plants, and then you have to harden them in a greenhouse. Some people don't like the process of taking a plant, mass producing it, so it's the exact same replica. Others don't really mind. Clearly, if you're producing the plants faster in larger quantities, you'll be able to make them more affordable. In contrast to tissue culture, where you're scraping those cells, making thousands of plants in a short window of the same exact replica of the plant you took the cells from, seed grown offers growers variation and collectors to own something that's so amazing and jaw-dropping that really combines the best traits from both parents used to make them. That usually brings the price up. A lot of collectors and growers are looking for seed-grown plants. They want that variation. They want those unique genetics. So usually you're going to be paying a lot more for a seed-grown individual. However, there are some nurseries that do supply tissue culture plants at top dollar, and they're entitled to that. I mean, Mapaluensis just came onto the market in the past couple years, and they are still going for hundreds of dollars. Well, you might be paying for the initial release, the initial hype of that tissue culture specimen. And again, every nursery is entitled to their pricing, but you can pay top dollar for tissue culture. But overall, seed grown is usually more expensive than tissue culture. Continuing on, let's talk about the parents. The parents greatly influence the price of the Nepenthes you're purchasing. And this follows through with tissue culture and seed grown, but it mainly pertains to seed grown. Let's say there's this new latest hybrid with Edwardiana and Trismatiensis. Let's say it's never been made before. There's only 10 of them. They're this big. Of course, you're gonna pay a lot more money than Ventrata mixed with Maxima at the same size, even if there's just 2 of them. That's just how it is. Nepenthes Edwardiana is just beginning to come into cultivation as far as breeding. A lot of breeders are making Edwardiana stuff. The demand is so high. There is not a lot of stock. Everybody wants dramatic features with teeth. You are going to pay for that. To make it even more understandable, let's say I'll use our VTI Agrex as an example. We bred our beautiful squat female VTIM with our amazing squat VTI Candy Dreams with that deep red pitcher, nice striping. Obviously, the offspring of that are going to yield some really nice squat pitchers, maybe with color, maybe not, but the chances of getting something ridiculous in squat and with that color and those stripes is really high. If we had 2 lowland VTI that were bred together, they're kind of green, no stripes, elongate bodies, you're not going to be paying nearly as much because you're probably not going to end up with a squat shape and you're probably not going to end up with crazy stripes. So the parents always affect what you're purchasing. Now, there's a lot of overlapping, but I want to talk about availability. If you have one or two of something with prime genetics and parents and you decide to sell one, a nursery decides to sell one, of course you're going to be paying a lot of money for that. It's probably not going to even end up for sale on a typical website. It would end up on eBay or some kind of auction platform, because for that kind of plant, especially if the parents are prime, so many people are going to want it. That vendor or producer of the plant is going to say, hey, this is my chance to, pay my winter bills. This plant's dramatic. There's only one. Throw it out on auction and let's see. Now, conversely, you could have a nice number of something like Lowii Edwardiana. And because the traits are so prime, you're still gonna pay top dollar for a plant like that, at least until it's years down the line where there's so many, people are making cuttings and multiplying them. But up front, there could be a larger quantity of these plants, but you're gonna pay top dollar just for the traits alone. But in short, you're gonna be paying more for something that's in limited quantities as opposed to something that is mass produced. The last thing I wanna talk about that's gonna kind of tie all this together is the size and quality of the Nepenthes you're purchasing. Now, this is a typical small size Nepenthes, and keep in mind, something this big can take 2 years to develop, but this can range anywhere from $5 to over $1,000. Yes, over $1,000. I know it's ridiculous, but this could be basic parents at a small size for $5 to $40. It could be a new rare seed grown plant there's only 2 of, coming from a vendor that only specializes in high-end plants. But in general, if it's a nice hybrid, there's a nice amount of them from, a commercial nursery. I'd say anywhere from $10 to $60, $80, maybe $100 for something this big. Here is a medium-sized plant. And in general, you can expect to pay anywhere from $15 to, like I said, a couple $1,000s for this. But if I could just put it in short, I would say $15 to $100 to $200. A plant like this can take anywhere from 2 to 3, even 4 years to get to this size. It really depends. You're obviously gonna pay a lot more for a Velosa this size as compared to a Nepenthes Ventrata. Lastly, let's move on to Nepenthes specimens or extra large size plants. This is a beautiful Lowii VTI Bachiana Maxima Truncata Red from Exotica. It has a nice base shoot. It's big and healthy, prime breeding. I don't know if it's a male or female. I would market this at $500 for this plant easily. It's beautiful, and it's only gonna get bigger. It's still not fully mature. Now, if you were buying a Nepenthes Ventrata from tissue culture at Lowe's at this size, you're gonna pay $20. So keep in mind, where are you getting it from? How many of them are there? What are the traits? What are the parents? Is it seed grown, tissue culture? All of these factors combined into making the price of your Nepenthes. Now that I finished talking your ears off, I'm gonna talk some more, but I'm gonna give you guys another example. Here I have 2 plants, same size, but the price is not the same, way different. First, I'll talk about this Truncata Cross Vogellii. It's very common, there's a lot of them, the demand is not high. You're talking about $40 to $60 for something this size. Moving on to this plant over here that is similar size, but $500 to $1,000. This is Nepenthes VTI, and although there are a lot of VTI out there, this one is a new Grex between 2 prime VTI, their giant form mixed with their really spherical, round, squat pink male. And what that's gonna give you is a higher number of really squat VTI with really good color. And anybody that's growing species and wanting VTI, everybody wants a squat pitcher. What is a squat pitcher? It's really round, almost like a tennis ball. Look at the color on this. Look at the stripes. This is amazing. Although we sold quite a few, it's still new to the market. They're still so young, you don't know what this is gonna look like. And we don't know if they're gonna turn out to be male or female. But this plant here, you're definitely gonna pay a lot more for. Like I said, high demand, prime traits, seed grown, and just so pretty. I love this. You guys know me, you know I love VTI. So I hope these 2 examples kind of give you an idea of how, even though plants can be the same size, how many there are, where they're from, the traits, and if it's tissue culture or seed grown is all gonna impact what you guys are paying for and why. One of the last examples I'll give you guys is these 2 plants, and because I wanted to ramble a really long Nepenthes name, But here in front of me, I'll start with this one. This is Gracia La Flora, or it goes by Alata from Exotica. This is a nice big specimen, huge, beautiful pictures, and although I never see them for sale at this size, I would say $150, maybe $200 for this one with all these pictures in this size, multiple growths, which isn't that bad. It's a really nice plant, great shape, love the color. Now moving on to this tongue twister over here. This one is Rocco Exotica Bachiana VTI cross Loei VTI Bachiana Maxima Mira. A newer release, high demand, all seed grown. You just don't, some of the offspring on this are so crazy looking. This one is insane. I honestly don't even know what I would price this as. This is an auction specimen, similar size, but I would say minimum $500 for this plant. It has prime traits for breeding. Look at the big flared kind of toothy peristome. That golden ring around the edge, there's almost no pitcher opening, which is a really weird trait, but this plant, you don't see Nepenthes like this everywhere. It is so dramatic and cool. Definitely a lot more money, even though it's similar size. So that's pretty much Nepenthes pricing in a nutshell. Where are you getting them from? What's the size and quality? Are they seed-grown tissue culture? What's the availability? And what parents were used to make the hybrid? All of this is gonna play into how much you're spending on the Nepenthes you're getting in your collection. I really hope this video gives you guys a better understanding of the market and how much Nepenthes can cost. I gotta get back to caring for the Nepenthes. I can hear them behind me. You've been in front of the camera for too long. Like, comment, share, and subscribe always. It's so helpful to the Red Leaf Exotics channel and what we're doing here. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you next week.